Okay, so we are live. Okay. Hello and welcome everyone to Chit Chat with Shweta. As you all know, the whole purpose of starting this talk show is just one and very simple that we have so many people around us who are doing amazing work in their respective field of expertise. And I just thought that it would be a good idea to just get on to a talk with them, exchange few ideas, and have some light-hearted conversation. So this is the whole idea of starting this. And this is just our second episode. And even before, we were just trying to move forward and grow big, we have someone with us who has come together with us on board and, to take this forward. And her contribution is immense in this. She's the founder of Empowering Lives. Uh, she is Ragini Agarwal, and she is doing some amazing work. She's one dynamic lady, and she always believes in having solutions and not the problems. And especially during this pandemic where people are losing their work and basically feeling depressed and hopeless, she is doing her bit to uplift them in whatever way she can. So I'm extremely happy and delighted to have Ragini on board with us. Welcome, Ragini, to our show, and and getting in collaboration with us for this wonderful initiative. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Shweta. Thank you for your kind words. That was like, a person you doing so much, telling something about me. You yourself is hand holding people, hand holding everyone. And, it's like doing the best for everyone and helping them gain their goal. So I think there is nothing better than this because this gives immense happiness to people. And I have seen you doing this to many of my close people, and you have done it with all your heart and soul. So anything that you do, I think it's like anybody who gets attached with you, I think that would be a honor to do that.
Thank you. Thank you for being so generous. And yes, uh, today it's like so we have someone really special with us. So I don't want to waste much time and, directly call our guest on board. So without further ado, I would introduce the guest for today. And what do I say about him? Like, it's like a long list of
Correct.
accomplishments he has.
Correct.
And if I start talking, I think I'll take most of the time in his introduction itself. So I'll just keep it short and we will hear from the man
Correct.
himself. But
Correct.
just to let everyone know, he has done the highest service one can probably do, and that is he has served the nation. He's
Correct.
an ex-army man,
Yeah.
and now he's a part of a film fraternity. His latest movie has released Yara, which is being, highly acclaimed, and his role especially is being appreciated so
Right.
much. We will talk about it definitely.
Correct.
He's also a theater enthusiast right from his childhood. He has been a TEDx speaker, that too, like
Yeah.
the highest
16
number
times.
of times.
Yeah.
So like it's like wow, like I can just go on and on. So I think I should not do that. I should straight away call him. Please welcome Muhammad Ali, and we would hear it right from his mouth. Welcome, Muhammad.
Thank you, Shweta. Thank you, Ritu. Thank you very much for having me here. When you mentioned let's call Muhammad Ali, I thought probably the famous boxer Cassius Clay is going to come, and but thank you very much. It's an honor to be here on your show, Shweta. Honestly, it is.
No, it's completely my pleasure to have you here. I've been so looking forward to for this today 6:30, and get to talk to you. It's been a real pleasure having you here.
Thank you very much.
Now since I just mentioned about your film, which was released just last month, First thing which I want to know is like you come from a very eminent film family, that is the Shahs, Nasruddin Shah being your uncle. So how easy or difficult it has been for you to make a mark for yourself, to break away from those shackles? Because we always hear someone who is from the film fraternity or background, it comes easier for them. So how has it been for you?
Shweta, it hasn't been easy at all. In fact, it's been very, very difficult. And having an uncle there of the stature of Nasir Saab, people would think that it's an advantage and it has been very easy, but that's not the case at all. But yes, I would not deny the fact that I certainly have had the head start in the sense that I have learned the craft from the best teacher I could have ever dreamt of learning from. इतना फायदा हुआ जरूर, जी हाँ. Apart from this, not once would I tell him to recommend me or to get me introduce somebody else. बाकी काम तो अपने आप ढूंढा हमने. उसके बाद अपनी काबिलियत पे है. See, when preparation meets opportunity, it is luck. So you had to prepare yourself continuously and be waiting for that moment when opportunity would strike you and when that would happen. So it took me, Yara, it took 22 years wait in films. 22 years. I'm over 35 years old in theatre. I had been doing theatre from my childhood and I'm a hardcore theatre enthusiast and I love doing theatre. If given me a chance, I would rather do theatre. And 22 years old in films. No one took note of me in these 22 years. I did my first film in 1998 with Saeed Mirza. It was an FTI film. It's there on YouTube. It's there on my channel. I have a YouTube channel by the name of Muhammad Ali Shah. It's there on that channel. And in 2011, I did Agent Vinod, then Haider, then Bajrangi Bhaijaan, and then Rag Desh, then Vodka Diaries, the Tashkent Files, The Broken Window, which has been produced by Priyanka Chopra, directed by Janu Barua. In fact, there are a lot of films I did in the meantime. I did an English film for which I got several awards as well. But no one ever recognized me for that. But the irony is, in Yara, I'm playing a Sikh policeman. The joint director CBI, I have a long beard, which I actually grew it. I grew my hair and my beard for 2.5 years. So you can't really recognize me. I'm unrecognizable in that, and for that, I am being recognized. So having an uncle like Nasir, I had to still wait on for so many years.
Absolutely. And I think there was one of the articles also which talked about it, where it said that your uncle, he had played a Parsi in one of the
Oh,
movies. Yes, and he was still recognizable, but you playing the part of a Sikh in Yara is like people are completely, they cannot make out that it's Ali. So I think that's one of the biggest compliment one can get for the part they are playing.
now let me also give you a compliment, Shweta. You know, you really seem to have done your research and your homework well. Because, and this is the best compliment of my life actually, when the review was written and when the review when this was mentioned about me, I was like, they're not just comparing me to Nasir Saab, they are saying he's unrecognizable. And just yesterday, there is this television channel called TV9 Bharatvarsh. So I was speaking to one of the guest coordinator, Abhishek. I was to be on the 6 p.m. show. He told me, I saw Yara just this morning and I did not know that character was played by you. I go to see it again. And it's a very nice character, very good role, a very meaty role. And Shweta, I'm so impressed. So what you said
I'm
is
yet
yes.
to watch Yara, so I'll definitely watch that.
All right.
Okay. But there's another thing which was just intriguing me, like being an army person and this film background, they are like two different and completely opposite things. So how did it happen? Like, was it that you always wanted to be in films? So if that was that, then how army, or how did this whole two completely different things came together?
Very good question. And through this question of yours, I will be able to put a lot of minds at rest and by answering a lot of queries. But a lot of people ask me this very often. And the answer to that is, I fell in love for the first time in my life when I was 5 years old. I had my first heartbreak also at number 5 when I was in class 5th. So what I fell in love with at the age of 5 was the army uniform firstly and theatre, the stage. And I had my first heartbreak in class 5th and I couldn't clear the entrance test for Doon School. That's a different story altogether. So I was inspired by my father, who's been my superhero in life, like any other son. And I want to be an army officer like him. My father was a general in the army. He was the deputy chief of the Indian Army. So I really looked up at him in awe, at wow, got to be a soldier like him. And of course, his younger brother, again, a towering personality, Nasir Saab. But yeah, the brothers are of a different league altogether, and so I had very, very big shoes to fulfill. And the passion, the desire to act was also there. After my 12th, I couldn't clear the entrance exam for the National Defense Academy, the NDA. After my graduation, I couldn't clear the entrance for the National School of Drama as well. Not once, but twice. I couldn't clear the entrance test for the Jamia Millia Islamia mass communication to learn the technical aspects of filmmaking. Now, my family has been soldiering for over 200 years, actually. My ancestors have fought the First World War, the Second World War, and not many were fortunate enough to return back home. Some of them were martyred and buried on foreign soil. That's a different thing altogether. So I said, okay, I haven't got through the National School of Drama. I think maybe it's a godsend opportunity. God has a different design in mind for me. Let me join the Short Service Commission in the army, where you train for you serve the army and you serve for 5 years. In any case, countries like Israel, Singapore, Korea, you have to give in a couple of years of your life to the army. So I said, what better? You be a soldier. In the West, many actors have actually served in their tenure in the army. Like, for example, Elvis Presley was a soldier in the army. I would be an officer. So I trained, and I thought at that time, if I join the army and train as a para commando, I would get paid and trained in life skills which will help me as an actor as well, such as commando training, martial arts, horse riding and polo, deep water diving, mountain climbing, rock climbing, hang gliding, adventure sports, water sports, parasailing, parajumping, paratrooping, you name it. Army will train you on all that. And the feeling of patriotism which we all have, it will give me a chance to serve my nation as well. And when I come to Mumbai, there'll be a lot of actors who have come from the NSD, where I didn't get through twice, the National School of Drama, from Pune Film Institute, from Lee Strasberg, from New York Film School. But there will be no actor who has actually served in the army and who has come.
Right.
Who safeguarded our national frontiers, our borders. So I said this would be my USP. And I think that worked for me. Because the day I came to Mumbai after I took a break from film, after 98. In 2002, I joined the army. It was a break in the sense that I would continue with theatre, I would continue with motivational speaking, I would continue with storytelling sessions for my troops. Like I would motivate them all by telling stories of brave hearts, like Captain Vikram Batra, Paramveer Chakra, Mir Abdul Hamid. I would tell Albert Ekka. I would tell them stories of how our war heroes became heroes. And so my theatre was on. I would still work on the craft. I would motivate my troops. Theatre is what? Theatre is just, even if you tell 4 people a story, that is theatre. And thereafter, journey into film started. So that is how army happened. So an actor joined the army, and the same actor, after doing a stint in the army, went back to pursue what he had left behind.
So basically, you justified both the genes which you have, the army and the filmy background.
I don't know if I have justified. I hope I am striving very hard. I'm working very, very hard towards that because...
with this, I come to the point that you have, seen your failures, but then you have also seen successes. Like, you have been a TEDx speaker in various platforms. You have got this, approval, appreciation of this movie, Yara. You have been, presses all over you. So, that counts, like you have actually done a lot of hard work.
Of course, Ragini, it's been back-breaking. Like, for example, when I signed Yara, the same day, I read the script under a tree outside Tigmanshu Dhulia's office, and I was so bold by this character of Jasdeep Singh. I said, this is a golden chance for me to prove my skill as an actor, because it's a personality which I'm not at all, and who ages in the film from young to old. So I go back, say, almost 20 years there and 20 years there. So the variation, the range of an actor, I would get a chance to display that. Now, same day, I went to Mumbai Central Station after packing a small rucksack with 2 pairs of clothes in that. And of course, I'm an avid reader, so I carried the newspaper with me. So I boarded the general compartment, unreserved. I bought a Chalu ticket and I put the newspaper outside the door, the washroom, that in that corridor, put the bag under my head, and I just went off to sleep. I knew when I reached Amritsar, it was going to be a back-breaking, laborious effort. I knew this much very well. So I slept for about 35 hours like Kumbhakarn in the train. And when I reached Amritsar, from Amritsar station, there is something called as Vikram. Vikram is like an auto rickshaw, shared auto rickshaw. Not people, you pay 10 rupees and a common auto rickshaw basically. So I took this Vikram. In the general compartment, I was not only sleeping, I was also observing various people. In Vikram, it gave me a golden chance to observe the co-passengers I am seated next to. I reached Jallianwala Bagh. On the left side was the Jallianwala Bagh. General Dyer's Well, which we all have studied in the history.
Right.
On the right were shops. They were Prasad, Pagdi, Kripan, Kacha, Kangan, Talwar. They were flowers. And in front of me was one of the most beautiful sights I have ever seen. That was the Golden Temple, Swan Mandir. I saw the Golden Temple and I was just mesmerized, A chill ran through my spine. I got goosebumps and my eyes started watering. I walked inside. I introduced myself to people over there. I said, I'm Ali, Muhammad Ali Shah. I want to learn about Sikhism. Now, no one really discriminates there based on religion, caste, creed, area, region. So they took me straight to the cookhouse. I found one corner of the cookhouse. I broomed the floor, mopped the floor, and I spread my bedsheet that I was carrying over there. I placed my bag over there, went and washed my hand and my face, and I got down to hard work. I would cut the firewood for the fireplace, lift sacks of rice, atta, dal, sugar, of ration, stored in the cookhouse, mop the floor, broom the floor, pick up the dirty utensils, wash them, do mopping, brooming of the floor. And I did full seva over there. And I started growing my hair and my beard. I didn't shave at all. I learned to tie the 6 meters turban. I would tie it myself, how it's to be tied, no? I learned it. I read the Gurumukhi while I was there. I wanted to read the Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Now, there's some prerequisites to read the Guru Granth Sahib Ji. You cannot read it just like that. So I grew my beard, grew my hair, followed the tenets of Sikhism. I read it much later on, of course. And the best thing that happened, a lot of changes happened to me. As a lot of spiritual changes happened. The best thing that happened is I used to be a chain smoker, smoking 2 to 3 packets of cigarette per day. I quit smoking completely. I don't smoke now. So it was back-breaking efforts, yes, but I was enjoying it. No one had put me on gunpoint to do it, and I had to learn Punjabi. Even though I was told there's no requirement to learn Punjabi for that, you will be speaking Hindi, it's a Hindi film. But I felt, unless and until I am convinced that I am Jasjeet Singh, how can I convince anybody else? So I learned Punjabi of a different level, Thet Punjabi. I know none of you may know Punjabi, but I have to speak Punjabi. I'll give you an example, one sentence. Hey, Punjabi akal nahi rahe, huh? I kitabba nahi dena kuch. Vadya naal gal karan di akal hodi chahiye hai. Guruvar ne mud ke nahi tak kahan ja rahe. So I'm from UP, Uttar Pradesh, but I picked up the language there, right? And that is how. Real hair, real beard, in the film that you see. So when you see this film, everyone's convinced, oh my God, this is Muhammad Ali Shah. We thought it's a Punjabi actor from Amritsar, from Punjab who's come. But only then I was authentic in that. If it's worth being called authentic. Now, like as you said, Shweta, you rightly.
No, absolutely. I'm sure, though I'm yet to watch it, but the kind of, reviews and rave it has created, I'm sure you are sounding more than authentic over there. And the kind of hard work you have put in, so no doubts about it. And I'm sure today, whoever is listening to must be so inspired, and it's such a motivating thing to put in the hard work. Definitely recognition is we all seek at some point of time, but to work for something without being forced to do that. I think that's like the biggest gift or biggest commitment we can give to anything which we do. And that's the whole process that we enjoy. No, but like when you were talking about that you wanted to get into a national school of dramatics or into defense and you could not clear those examinations. Today, I know you are a motivational speaker and you know you are on stage and inspiring people. But when you look back at that time, how did you take it? Because most of the times, like when we face rejections in whatever field it is, uh, because I have also personally experienced it, like when I wanted to get through certain institutions and it did not happen. So handling at that time, at that moment is a completely different thing, you know. So how was it for you that how could you handle those situations today? Maybe when you look back at them, it's a different thing altogether. So how was it for you at that time?
To be very honest with you, I couldn't handle it that time. I don't know how. Someone just narrated a story to me at that time. You know, I think that kept me going. Where this king orders for a ring to be made, and that ring would make a happy man sad and a sad man happy. Now, which ring is that? The blacksmith thinks, and wives gives him an idea. Make a ring of any normal metal and write these four words: "This too shall pass." ये वक्त भी गुजर जाएगा. And when the king wear the ring, he becomes sad. A sad man becomes happy. So I thought this too will pass because tough times never pass, never last. Tough people do. And time just passed. And after that, I saw success. And you know, the irony is, Shweta, my greatest fears, my greatest failures have today become my biggest success. And people pay me to travel. In the pandemic, of course, I cannot travel, but I've been doing online session for them. To not talk about my success stories, to talk about my failure stories, how I failed and how I overcame that. You know, I was twice rejected by the National School of Drama, but today I'm a faculty at a film school.
Wow.
Subhash guy is
Nothing
whistling.
can be greater than this.
Thank you.
Now you are, you know, it's like the perfect reply to them that, okay, at one point of time you did not accept me. So now here I am teaching in the same institution. But, you know, as you said, we all know everyone who reaches a success, we just know their success story. And that's what mostly people look up to, that, okay, he or she has reached a certain stage. But what we generally miss out on is their journey, which is very important, and that's what is most enriching. And you know there is so much of learning over there.
Correct.
So you talking about that is definitely something, you know, which we all would take a lot from it. And there's so much to learn, because failures, I personally believe, is just an event in our life. A person is never a failure as long as you just decide to, you know, get going, take the learnings from the event. It is never a failure for you. So, and I think your life and the events and how you have handled it is like just a perfect example for this.
Thanks, yeah. You know, they say failure is a stepping stone to success. I say today I'm a motivational speaker because not because I'm smarter or more talented or more intelligent or more wise than anyone. No, I certainly am not. I'm a motivational speaker today because I feel my story can become a manual for somebody else. Because the kind of failures, humiliations, rejections, the heartbreaks, hardships, the struggles that I faced, I don't know if many people would have seen that or not. I've seen quite a bit in life. And you know, wise men learn from others' mistakes, only fools learn from their own mistake. And I was a fool, and let me admit that. I kept failing, I kept trying to learn from my own mistake. And I know you are wise, everyone else is wise. So let other people learn from my mistakes. And, and you know, whatever I went through, I don't want anyone else to go through that tough time. It can be made much simpler. So that is what got me into motivational speaking. After my TEDx talk started clicking, they started doing very well, and that is how and from there I come from a theater background, of course. So a person who's done theater will never suffer. Theater is the cure for all ills. Because the moment you come for your rehearsal, you forget the world. You're just there. You can be a CEO of a company. You can be a peer in the company. You will all broom the floor. You will all act together. You are equal there.
Right.
So in a sense, like you have been a real hero and also the real hero, and then also a hero for people, inspiring people, right? So we can club it like this.
Yes.
Well, I'll put this in a correlate this in a very good way. In the year 2001, Nasir Saab had done a workshop, acting workshop for the National School of Drama final year students. Now, there were three actors who were externals, who were not from the NSD, who were given special permission to attend the classes. Now, who were the three actors? Shahid Kapoor, Randeep Hooda, and myself. Shahid Kapoor and Randeep Hooda went to Mumbai after that and became heroes. I joined the army, the Short Service Commission. Well, thank you very much for considering me to be a hero there. But I don't think I was a hero. But yes, I certainly had the honor to march beside some real life heroes in the army. I am back to acting now. I'm back to motivational speaking because I thought if I don't complete the Short Service Commission at that age, I will cross the upper age limit of joining the army. And I did that. I trained in the army, and I'm very proud of the fact. How many people get a chance to put their life at stake safeguarding our motherland? How many people get a chance?
Correct.
And because they are safeguarding the national frontiers, you people or everyone else is sleeping in the house at peace. So I consider myself very, very
And it's not
privileged.
just chance, I would say it's more about courage also. How many of us have that kind of courage and the commitment to, go out there and serve the nation? So it's like, taking that leap of faith and taking that initiatives is not just chance, but more about the courage and the commitment towards your nation. So
I
you,
did a web series recently, Avrod, and Avrod is being talked about widely. It's on the surgical strikes, okay? And I did not really expect when you're shooting for Avrod that I would be noticed because it was a small part as compared to Yara. It's like I'm there throughout the film, and I believe no role is big or small. कोई काम बड़ा छोटा नहीं होता. No work is small or big. The person who is doing the job is small or big, and it's not the length of the role; it is the strength of the role.
absolutely.
So I did that character, and now I'm being recognized for that. That wasn't difficult at all because I was a real life soldier. I converted that into real. In Heather, which won 5 national awards, I played a soldier, and I got my old colleagues from the army to also act in Heather as soldiers
Wow.
again. Yeah. So because we know the body language, how if you tell an actor to hold a gun, how will he hold a gun and how would we hold a gun? There's a difference. We have been trained. It's been it's ingrained into us.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic, to know about how, your roles have been in Bajrangi Bhaijaan and Haider, mostly about army, and then you proved it that it's much, much easier to act when you are trained in the army.
Ragini, I feel anybody in life who has made it big have started small from somewhere.
Absolutely.
Okay. So when we talk about Bajrangi Bhaijaan, and I'm very proud of that, initially I wasn't because, come here, I'll tell you a secret. It is a blink and a miss role. People wouldn't have even noticed. But the very fact I was there, it was a small part, and I was there. So, and it's been
That's
documented.
important.
Yeah, it's been documented. So my struggle there proves. See, I did a 5-second role in a film as well, 5 second, where I'm just passing through the background of the frame, and the hero is standing there, and I'm from behind, I'm passing by. That to Agent Vinod, to Heather, to I've done small bits, and like if people today, when someone will say that I am happen to be Nasir Saab's nephew, so I had to make it, but obvious. Let me tell them to please go through my YouTube channel and see my journey and see from where I started. And anyone who has inherited something or who has been paradropped has fizzled out somewhere.
Absolutely, yes.
So
It takes a lot to prove your worth. Even
exactly,
if you get certain advantages, it's a different thing. But in any case, you have to prove your worth, and that's only comes to your hard work and talent. So nothing can take that away from anyone, for that matter.
Majroo Sultanpuri had once said, "मैं तो अकेले ही चला था जानिबे मंजिल, मैं तो अकेले ही चला था जानिबे मंजिल, मगर लोग साथ आते गए और कारवां बनता गया." Shweta and Ragini, this is for you guys. Because Shweta, as you mentioned, this is your second show. It doesn't seem like it. It seems like this is your second 200th show. And Ragini, one of the most enterprising, dynamic, and a go-getter. And you make things happen. And I believe it is great. It is like when you truly desire something from the bottom of your heart, as in The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho has put it, the whole universe conspires to get it together for you. Slowly and gradually, things are happening, things are moving.
That's so nice, Ali, to get something, inspiring, and always, you have been on the positive side, appreciating people and motivating them to do more. That's the beauty and the humbleness that you have.
Since you have another facet to yourself, that is being a motivational speaker, I was just wondering that you are on stage, like, be it for your theater or being for the motivational speaker, or, even if it's for the films, you are in front of an audience and the cameras and everything. So which part do you enjoy the most, among the three? It's just on a lighter note, because you are playing so many different roles, I would say. So different facets of your personality. So like, which one is it that you enjoy the most doing?
In one word, I would say theater. Now, when I say theater, it covers not only just plays, it covers even motivational speaking, even TEDx, even storytelling. Theater, because you are addressing people.
Right.
It's nothing but exchange of energies. You get the right energy from the audience and you give them your positive energy. So theaters, I love doing theater. And being a motivational speaker, I'll narrate a few lines for you. If you think you're beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you'd like to win, but think you cannot, there's almost a kinch you want. If you think you're outclassed, you are. For out in the world, we find success begins with a person's will.
Yes.
It's all in the state of mind. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster men. But sooner or later, the person who wins is the one who thinks he can. Right?
Absolutely. It's completely all in the mind. Our mind is so powerful. So no doubts about it. One thing which was just, coming to my mind right now is you are a motivational speaker and also you belong to a film fraternity. So now currently this whole issue of, depression, which we all are gripped with, and especially related to the industry. Do you think it has more to do because there's so much of glamour and expectations? Or is just that the people in the industry just gets blown out of proportion? Is it that, or is it actually real that people there are more affected? How what's your take on this, since you belong to the industry? How do you see it?
Shweta, you're bang on over there. You're bang on, and especially the first half of your question, is it because of the glamour, glitter? Now, let me tell you, see, all that glitters is not gold. And I want to be an actor to satisfy my own creative hunger. I love to act. I never was chasing glamour, glitter, fame, money. No, success, yes. But success is, again, how do you measure success? Success can mean some money to somebody. It might mean fame to somebody. It might be appreciation to somebody. It might be self-gratification to somebody. So what is success actually? Now, I wanted to do something which involves being a master craftsman of my trade. I'm a craftsman, but I wanted to be an actor, an artist par excellence. I wanted to be a master craftsman of my trade. That is the reason why people could not recognize me despite the work that I have done. And that's another reason, and I'm proud of that. And another reason is, ironically, a character which I am not recognizable, they're recognizing me for that. So I have never really been in chasing glamour. I have believed in just doing my part honestly, truthfully, and to the best of my abilities. If I'm truthful to myself, if I'm convinced myself, the audience would be convinced. And when the audience would be convinced, I make a connection with the audience there. And when I make a connection with the audience, they like me. It's as simple as that.
So it's more of an intent that matters.
Absolutely,
Your,
intention. Exactly. Yeah, and the same with business, Ragini. Like you
yes,
are from a business family. So
correct.
in business, what happens? Okay, for our viewers, have you all ever wondered why some businesses work and some businesses don't work? I'll give you the answer. I'm from a Premier B school. I studied business management from IIM Calcutta. So I
Correct.
will tell you
Got that
the
point.
I'll tell you the right answer to that. It is the intent. We all think about how will a business work, why will it work, how, what. But what we really don't focus is the intention behind establishing that business.
Correct.
Now, the common intention would be to make money, to make moolah. And fair enough, rightly so.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they got to be a larger intent than that. And
Yeah.
when the intention is right, it has always worked. Always.
Yes.
History is proof of that.
Correct.
That's like a beautiful perspective on, whatever we do, the intention behind it, it has to be for a larger good. Making money is not a bad thing, definitely not.
Of course
But,
not.
That's a byproduct. That's a
yes,
byproduct.
exactly. And, but the bigger intent, the larger good has to be there in order to make it a success. Definitely. That's like a beautiful take on the thing. We generally fail to understand, or we have this thing, why isn't our business working, or we are not getting that success. But yes, it's more about the intentions that we put out to over there. So
That
completely
is
agree.
how, we started empowering lives, a few days back. And we thought like, people really want themselves to work online and, mingle online because it's very difficult. You know,
I thought you will say because when the going gets tough, the tough get online.
Correct. And this has been coming out from Ali from long time. And, it's the right phrase in this phase. Yeah. So we collaborated with right intended people and to help people to do their best online. And
Is this
post
light
the
enough? Is this light enough? I think my bulb over here seems to have got fused.
No,
Is this
it's
light enough?
okay. You're
Okay.
still all
perfect.
shining and visible.
Okay.
So
All right.
Correct. Army man does
Shine like
that.
a superstar.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So the right people started joining in, like Ali and Madiha and other people. They started joining in, and it became a team. And with us,
Madhya is my cousin, by the way.
yes,
Oh,
yes. And Shweta is also there with us now, collaborating with us with various talk shows. So, I think when you have the right intention, so everything comes into the play. And, because the intent is right to serve the people in this pandemic, how can we help them?
right. And I think Ali is doing remarkably well, to especially in this pandemic, to reach out to people, be through his talks or other work which he is
Yes.
doing. Like listening to you itself is so inspiring and motivating. I'm sure it's,
I'll
touching
tell you,
so.
I'll tell you, Shweta, it's like I have approached him for many sessions, and be it pro bono, be it paid, he has never said me a no. I mean, that's the beauty. I have been approaching him since 1 month now. I know him since quite a long time, but like because of this online sessions and which he can give it to people, he has never said a no. Maybe,
And
he
I
must
think
be
that's
busy.
like the true identity of a giver. So
Correct.
what do we say? Like you are out there and giving the best what you can to the people. So
It's never a no for my friends. This word in the dictionary doesn't exist for me. Always positive, always yes, it'll be done. I've never, even in the army, I learned this from the army. Never say no, it cannot be done. Always say yes, it can be done and it would be done, and ensure that it happens. You got to
yes, it
make things
can be
happen.
done, it should be done, but saying no is also important, isn't it? We need
I,
to draw our boundaries.
I've heard this many times from a lot of people, but saying no to the, see, it depends. आप no किसके लिए बोल रहे हैं? If it's rubbish, then yes, say no. But come on, when it's someone like my friends, then of course it's always a yes. For my friend, it's always a yes. It's always going to be a yes.
I think that's very nice of you, and you being very generous and humble in this, that you are always there to give out and do the best what you can for people.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like we have been seeing your various you have been coming as a defense analyst and political analyst. Any take on this, Ali? I would really want to have your views on this, the present scenario that's being happening in the country.
Sure, Agni, I'll tell you, it's little, at times it gets a bit embarrassing for me because I am introduced as a defense and strategic expert on various channels, which I don't think I am, because an expert means who
Don't
knows.
give out your secret. People will stop calling you.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I'm not insecure about it at all. Okay. Because I feel an expert is a person who knows everything inside out. Now, last year, what happened in February, 14th February, when the Pulwama attacks took place, on 14th February night, I wrote an open letter to Jaish-e-Mohammed, the terrorist outfit, in which I describe point-wise how they are the true enemies of Islam. And I thought, who better to write this letter coming from a Muslim army officer? I know about Islam, so they can't teach me that. Now, I had served in Jammu Kashmir, in that region, when I was serving in the army. So I wrote a hard-hitting letter to them, and I mentioned that they are going to be rotting in hell. They will not attain some Hur Parikya, I don't know what that story, that myth. And that letter, I wrote it and I put on Facebook at 3 a.m. I woke up at 6 a.m. after about 3 hours of sleep. Now, 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. on Facebook. Who is awake at that time? All my friends are all from India on Facebook. Okay. But still, in that period, 3 to 6 p.m. a.m., that letter had over 386 shares. I'm not talking about likes or comments. On Facebook, it had 386 shares on Facebook and thousands of likes, thousands of comments. I was like amazed. I thought probably some technical errors happened and all. I switched off my phone. I had a class at Whistling with International. I switched on my phone after the class. I saw international numbers calling me up and wanting an interview with me on that letter that I wrote. I gave a lot of interviews to a lot of international channels. Thereafter, not a single channel in the country did not approach me to share my views. So I remember on 15th February, I was a day after that, I was on CNN News 18 and I was back to back, day, afternoon, evening, night. I was in their office speaking about it. And then people would love what I would speak, because I would speak from my heart.
The connect has to be there.
Correct. The connect has to be there. And I would speak in colloquial language, which everyone should understand.
Yeah.
And when you speak from your heart,
and you are a multilingual.
Thanks. Yeah. And when you're putting on an act, when you're just being yourself, when you're comfortable in your skin, I'm telling you, 100%. I can vouch for this. I can vouch with conviction that the audience will connect with you.
Absolutely.
And it is in public life, it is the audience who make and break you. It is not, say, in films. It is not the film industry, not an uncle or a father. No, it is the audience who got to like you. And if the audience like you, sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. So my entry into as a defense analyst or a defense and strategic expert, or later on a political analyst, all that started from there when I would speak on television channels, and somewhere it connected with a lot of people. And I think I'm pretty good at connecting with people. I love them all. And as you said, bilingual, multilingual, or whatever, I speak different languages.
Yeah, Nepali, I was astounded to know. I mean, oh my God.
I think as long as you speak from the heart, any language you speak, you just connect with the people.
I had gone to Kuwait to perform a play of mine, a solo play called The Major Actors Assorted Monologues, a 3.5-hour play. They were Arabs, sheikhs, who came backstage after the performance. They came and told me, we didn't understand what you were doing, because it's in English, Hindi, Urdu, and a bit in Sanskrit. So being a multilingual, so But by the way you were doing it, we could make out it's something very nice. So the language of the soul they could
Right.
connect with.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
My webinars, a lot of people from different countries come on for my webinars who don't speak English, but they understand the way I. On a webinar, imagine when we talk about whether online education is effective or not, we have people from other countries coming and attending the webinar. These are paid webinars, mind you. So it's like, wow. I mean, it's like crazy.
Absolutely, because conversation is not just words, it's just much more than that, our tonality, our body language, our physiology. So it's like a culmination of everything. So even if someone cannot understand the particular language which you are speaking, but if you're good with your other aspects, so I think it definitely makes a connection with the audience. And I'm sure you are like, par excellence in that. So you are a master of your craft, as you said, you like to be the master of your craft, and I'm sure you have been proving it at every point. So what can be better than this?
Thank you, Shweta. Means a lot coming from you, yeah. It really means a lot. Thanks a lot.
I'm just stating what is the fact, so there's no doubt about it. And yes, so
Shweta, I take the opportunity to tell everyone that I'll embarrass you a bit. You remind me of there's a film I had done, The Ruffian. So the lead actress paired opposite me in The Ruffian. It's there on YouTube. Huh? You can see it on some. You remind me of her. There's so much of similarity. I mean, the way you guys
now I
talk.
have to watch it.
That is my way, because I've studied marketing from that too, from IIM Calcutta. My way of marketing that maybe.
No, but it's just that I take it as a compliment, and I would definitely watch it now. Thank you. Thank you, Ali, for being on this show. It was, I think, a great privilege and honor to have you and to talk to you, to get to know more about you. And I'm sure the audience today would be there with such an enriched experience, because the stories which you have shared of your life and your experiences, we all have so much to learn from it. So thank you for agreeing to be here and giving us your time and sharing with us all your experience. And you have been so open about your struggles, your every aspect. So that is, as I said, it just directly connects with everyone. So once again, a big thank you to you and to Ragini as well, so to making it happen. Thank you, Ragini. And yes, so it was a great having you here with
Yes,
us.
it was a great evening, and we'll have more sessions with him. Abhi to hua hi nahi hai, it's just an introduction. So we'll be hearing a lot of Josh talks from him. He does that Josh talks also. So few of them.
Wow, I'm sure, so looking forward to it, to listen to your talks. And now I know YouTube may, I have to watch. So thank you for this lovely evening. And yes, so people, you keep following at Shweta Sureka official for the latest updates. We'll keep posting it there, whatever events we have, and we'll keep you all updated. So thank you all for being a part of this evening with us. Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Ragini.
Thanks, Shweta. Thanks, Rajni.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys, for watching.